Now we might ask the question, if the gospel of Christ is such a wonderful message, and of course it is, then what kind of a vessel would be the most suitable to carry it? Now in the verses that we're going to read today, we'll discover the answer to that question. So let's read from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 7 to 14. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us. We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life also of Jesus might be made manifest in our body. For we which live are always delivered unto death for Jesus' sake, that the life also of Jesus might be made manifest in our mortal flesh. So then, death worketh in us, but life in you. We, having the same spirit of faith, according as it is written, I believed, and therefore have I spoken. We also believe, and therefore speak. Knowing that he which raised up the Lord Jesus shall raise up us also by Jesus, and shall present us with you. A number of weeks ago, I bought a ring, not any old kind of ring, but a diamond ring, and how splendid it was. However, when I bought it, they placed it in a little box made out of cardboard with some spongy material inside it. I'm not going to tell you how much the diamond ring cost, but the little box would hardly have cost more than a few pounds. The expensive ring was presented in a worthless box. Now, Paul has something like this in his mind as he writes, we have this treasure in earthen vessels in verse 7. This glorious message of the gospel is being carried in inglorious vessels. Now, why is this? It is that the glory of the message might be seen. Paul sees himself as a vessel of little value in contrast to the message with which he was entrusted, which is of tremendous value. The glory is in the treasure. The diamond ring is the center of attention, not the little box. The power is in the message, not in the messenger. And every one of us should always remember this. Now, I think that these words, this treasure in earthen vessels, also in verse 7, is the key phrase in this parenthetical part of the letter, from verse 14 of chapter 2 to verse 4 of chapter 7. Up to this point, the emphasis appears to be on the treasure, the glorious message that was preached. From verse 7, it is on the earthen vessel, the low intrinsic value of the messenger. That's why Paul was undaunted by what happened to him as he preached the gospel. That's why he writes, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair, in verse 8. And persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed, in verse 9. In these verses, Paul underscores the point that the Lord constantly provided him with consolation in all his extremities. He's not saying that he never had a care or worry, but that the Lord sustained him in his frailty, that the gospel might prosper. In this sense, Paul was like his Lord, always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, verse 10. Just as the Lord Jesus had suffered being put to death, Paul carried with him the appreciation that in his sufferings he would give his life. He did so in the assurance that he could enjoy the power of Jesus' resurrection life, even though he was constantly being exposed to death. We which live are always delivered unto death for Jesus' sake, in verse 11. So why did he do it? It was for the blessing of the Corinthians. Death worketh in us, but life in you, verse 12. All that he suffered for the benefit of their Christian lives. And the question for us, of course, is how much are we prepared to suffer for the blessing of God's people?